Hi, good afternoon, everyone. Uh, I am Deepesh. I'm the CEO and co-founder of MoveInSync. MoveInSync has been in the business of office commute for close to a decade. We provide office commute solutions to large enterprises like Google, Microsoft, Amazon, Infosys, IBM, etc. In the last, I would say, 24 months, what we've also done is we've added a new product, Work and Sync, which actually enables enterprises globally to convert to move to a hybrid work or a flexi work environment. Very simply put, it means that employees come anywhere between 1 to 5 days or 1 to 4 days in a week. So that's the quick background about me. I have along with me Prashant. Hi Prashant.
Hi.
Thanks for being here. Prashant is a serial entrepreneur. Prashant is a graduate from IIT Delhi in mathematics and computer science. Post his graduation, he started his first startups, Proteans, back in 2003. He, along with his co-founder, ran it till 2010, and then in 2010 they had a successful exit with Symphony. Congratulations on that. A very few startups see that moment, so that's really good. He worked with Symphony for 2 years, and then again the startup bug bit him, and he started his second startup, which is where he's running now, along with two of his other co-founders, Nilesh and Sudhakar. The company is LeadSquared. It obviously has a lot of accolades under its belt in the last 10 years since it's been running. It's a SaaS company in the space of CRM. I'll let Prashant talk about it. But one of the things, two things actually, I want to congratulate Prashant is one of it is that it's in the fastest growing company. It's a unicorn in 2022. So congratulations on you and to the entire LeadSquared team. And the second is that just this week they've opened up one of their large offices in Australia. So congratulations again on your expanding it globally. So with that, Prashant, let's get before we start, I just thought I'll make some housekeeping announcements. First is, if you guys have any questions regarding to whatever we're talking, hybrid work, or any of the startup related questions, you can post it right away. Either during our discussion or towards the end, we will try to address those questions. So with that, Prashant, welcome again, and let's get started.
Yeah.
Maybe before we jump into this hybrid way of working, etc., I think I, and especially our audience, would want to know how's been your journey of a serial entrepreneur, obviously a very long enduring journey of close to 18 to 19 years. Some of your learnings would be great if you could share with all of us.
Sure. Thank you. Thank you so much, Deepesh, for the kind introduction. And always pleasure to talk to a fellow entrepreneur, especially when they are in same color, same brand T-shirt. So we just realized that we have same vendor for T-shirts. So it has been, I think I have been entrepreneur since 2003 when we started our first company, Proteans. So first, piece of learning or advice. I mean, if anybody in the audience wants to start a company, do it early on. The later you do, the more difficult it is, right? So if you have an idea and you have passion about it, to do it early on in your career, right? We did that, and we started pretty early, and had a fairly decent journey and exit in 2010 when Symphony Services acquired us. So with the experience of running Proteans, we were actually looking for a sales and marketing software that would automate our own sales and marketing operations. And we evaluated all the available software in the world, and we were not happy with any of that. So we felt that there's a need of such a software which is easy to use, easy to configure, can be customized fairly quickly, and is affordable. I think that idea was in our back of the mind when we started looking for options to create a new company, right, post our exit in the previous company. And with that idea, we started LeadSquared. So this was 2011, 12, 13, that time frame. And I think many of you would recall that in that time frame, a lot of consumer-facing companies of today, they were in their formative years, right?
Yeah.
The Baijus of
Ola,
today or Olas of today, right? They were taking shape, and they were really looking for a software which is serving, the sales operations management need, for a B2C kind of process. And globally available software was not suited, for them. And we capitalized on that opportunity, signed up some of these customers early on, and we are fortunate to have them as our customers today also. And I think learned a lot from them, from these customers, and their usage, their needs, their inputs have influenced the journey of software a lot, for us. So we started as a company which is selling in India and building in India. I think creating a SaaS company out of India, that is kind of common, but a company which is creating software in India, also selling in India, that is pretty uncommon. And we went against the advice of a lot of people, right? That India is not large enough market, and you cannot build a sizable company by selling in India. Indian buyers do not really want to pay for software, and so we heard everybody, but we had the firm belief. See, entrepreneur like you and me and maybe some in the audience, we have the first-hand information, right? We should not go by any prescription, any advice which is contradicting with our own experience of seeing the market, right? And we have the firm belief that there's a large enough market in India that is waiting to be served, and they will pay if they get the right value from the software. And we did that. I mean, and we kept building revenue, we kept adding customers. But since a lot of VC firms had this philosophy that you should be selling in India, they did not really invest in us. So if you look at our journey, our first investment actually came, Series A investment came after 8 years of the company being in existence. So we could not change their mind about this, size of market through a PPT or a story, but we changed their mind through our revenues, right? Through our growth. And we got our first Series A investment in 2019, and I think after that changed the trajectory, and we got Series B in 2020, and the latest round Series C in June of this year. So I think if you have belief, right, about a market, and you are persistent, then at some point of time you are going to get acceptance. So we kept our heads down, kept growing, focused on execution, and I think that has led us to wherever we are today.
No, thank you, Prashant. And I think I obviously knew that we discussed some part of it, but frankly, for our audience, I think it's some of the things which I specifically want to just take a note of it for myself as well as for everybody else's. One is that you went into a market like CRM. With my limited knowledge as a SaaS entrepreneur, that's probably the most crowded market out there, right? Where people like Salesforce are existing. So with that, you went into the most crowded market and still make a niche to reach where you are. So I think that's the first. Second, you said that there is almost certainly all time is right if you're doing the right thing. So start as early as you can. Don't wait for. And I think that's probably my experience as well. I think a lot of people wait for the right time when they will hit some financial mark and or some personal milestone in a family life, etc. I think you will see entrepreneurs in all shapes and sizes. So that's the second. And I think third, the most important point which I want to make, which I want to underline, is perseverance. For 8 years, you were a successful entrepreneur, exited from the company, and after that 8 years, you and your team were absolutely focused, trying to believe in what you thought is the right thing, right? Which is that customers in India also have a willingness to pay if you serve them the right product. And I think I echo it because obviously we do a lot of our sales in India, and I certainly echo it. But yes, if you are on the other side of the table, maybe a VC or an investor, it's not a very easy thesis to believe in. So superb story of perseverance and sticking to what you believe in by you and the LeadSquared team. Now with that, Prashant, I want to shift gears and closer towards about the new way of working, work 2.0, etc. And I think I just wanted to share some statistics with you and our audience on how companies in the country are returning to office. Obviously, I think the first input is that you still see the traffic back. Bangalore, you see, right? You were just telling me if your drive takes almost close to over an hour from your home to the office. So I think that's the first-hand information, irrespective of what data MoveInSync as a platform has. The first-hand information is that traffic is back, probably with a vengeance. But to come back to the data, I think, and a lot of people use the MoveInSync and the WorkInSync platform to go to the office or do various work-related activities like booking a desk, booking a parking space, etc. So India, as of July, is 80% of a pre-COVID level. So assume in March of 2020, if 100 employees were going to the office, right now, on average, 80 employees are back at the office. Right. So, and I expect that this number of 80 will go towards 100 in next 2 months itself.
I would agree.
In that, if I were to give you a cut of which sectors are back at the office, the banking and the financial sector, the BFSI sector, and especially a lot of them are GCCs operating out of India, big banks like Goldman, JP Morgan, Deutsche, etc., who have their offices in India. They are more than 100%. And what I mean by more than 100% is they've hired more people during pandemic, and hence they are getting more people as they were getting pre-pandemic. So that is the sector which is leading the return to office. The segment which is also firmly decided on the return to office plans are the internet product companies like Google, Amazon, Facebook, etc. Now, most of them have a thesis on return to office, right? They've told their employees globally, not just in India, globally that we want to see you 2 days in a week to the office, 3 days in a week. So they have taken a stance on it. And most of them have requested or told their employees that you have to be in your hometown. You have to be in the town in which your office is. So if your office is in Bangalore, you have to be within 50 kilometers of Bangalore, so that if you are needed for business need, you have to come to the office on a required day. So that is the second segment which has decided on, which has a firm return to office policy and has decided that this is what they're going to do. The third segment, which I think I would say is more on the fence, and at least my belief is that they are fearing attrition, and I'm going to ask you some of that later towards the conversation, that they are a little doubtful about attrition or thinking about that is actually the IT services companies like Accenture, TCS, Infosys, etc., who are deciding or who haven't decided a concrete return to office plan. So with that, I think different sectors are at different segments, but my belief is in the next 2 months, all of them are going to have some concrete plans, and you will see, unfortunately, traffic only increasing. Now with that, Prashant, I want to know what a company like LeadSquared, and you also shared the statistics which you should say, how quickly you are growing from a couple of hundreds to almost crossing 1,000. So obviously a fast growing company, a company which is in the business of SaaS platforms, etc. What is your viewpoint on return to office? How will the new work style, work policy look for you and for your employees?
Sure. Yeah, so I think I would agree to most of the data point that you shared. Right? 80% people are back, and by in a couple of months, maybe it's 100% back to office, mostly in hybrid model, I believe. We have also decided to get everybody back in the office in hybrid mode. We have requested our colleagues to be in the city where we have offices. So we are close to 1,500 people today, have office setup in Bangalore, Delhi, and Mumbai, and also co-working setup in Hyderabad, Pune. So people should be in the vicinity of office. They should be in the same city, so that if they are required to attend a meeting in person, they can come down. At the same time, it's hybrid model. I mean, people can come to office 2 to 3 times a week and work from home for rest of the period. And we have given liberty to the frontline managers to decide the schedule and how many days a week, because it depends on the function. So somebody, say, an engineering team maybe requires only 1 day or 2 days in office, right? But people in sales, in field sales, they may be required to be in office 3 days or 4 days a week, right? So it depends on the function. So we are trying to align the model based on the job role, responsibility, and the function. They are.
And you're leaving it to the managers to decide.
Yeah, but the guidance is that it should be hybrid.
It
right?
should be hybrid.
It should be hybrid, but you can decide the mix of whether it's 2 days or 3 days or 4 days, right? You can decide depending upon the job role. So we are giving that flexibility to our managers. Because one template may not fit all, right? I mean,
sure.
So, fundamentally, I think, see what we have realized, pre-COVID, it was kind of 100% from office all 5 days, right? People used to ask for work from home as a exception, right?
Agreed.
But with COVID was forced on us, right? I mean, work from home was forced on us, and everybody worked, right? But what worked during COVID time may not be the best way of doing work, right? And I think, as all things in life, finding a middle ground, right? I mean, that is probably the best way. So life is shades of gray. You cannot be,
sure.
black or white, right? You have to find something in between, right? In my philosophy, I'm fundamentally what you call madhyam margi in Hindi, right? That you find the madhyam marg, the middle path, right? Which middle path. So the middle path is that you provide an environment where people can work from office and work from home also, and let the frontline managers decide what is the best mix of that. Okay, so that's the philosophy that we are following.
Okay, got it. So if I understood, you're saying that you have decided that it's going to be a hybrid, where employees can work from the office a few times, and they can go to the go and work from their home only.
Yeah.
But because they have to be in the office, I assume they can't go to the hometown, right? Because
they cannot go to hometown.
Yeah, because obviously they can't one day go to their hometown and next day be in the
office. So they need to be in the city where we have physical offices.
So that is what you decided. Also, how has been the response from the employees, given that you have a large population of employees? I hear, or sometimes, and I said that people fear that what if the employees will leave. So have there been any fear?
Yeah, so I think, I mean, the company has to be fair to the employees. The employees also need to be fair, with the company. If you do a survey, right, in our company or maybe any other company, I mean,
sure.
I think the results will be mixed. So my gut feel is that 50% or more people will probably prefer to work from home, right? But having said that, we don't think that it's the best way to conduct the business.
Sure,
there might be businesses who can work fully remote, but it's not applicable to our business. See, we the people, I mean, especially people who join, fresh
recently,
right?
Yeah.
People, unless they meet members of their team, members of other team, because there is a lot of cross learning that happens among departments, right?
Yeah.
And being remote does not really help any. So the kind of bonds that you make by meeting people, right? I mean, it's very difficult, to do that in a remote setup, right? So our top performers are people who are working from offices, working in hybrid mode, right? So that data point, we have.
Yeah.
So, and I think there may be some attrition. I mean, there may be, so I mean, it applies to us. It applies to anybody who tries to kind of enforce this kind of model. But I think, I mean, since it's not a full 5 day a week model, it's still hybrid, right?
It's hybrid.
Flexibility. So I expect that people will appreciate it and will stay in the company, right? But so I'm sure that there will be some attrition.
No, sure. In fact, just my 2 cents to it, Prashant, as a co-founder, is I think we've decided that if that attrition happens, whatever that percent is, even if you put a work from home, they are probably just, those employees are not interested. Their core interest is not in the growth of the organization.
Yeah.
So I think it's just biting the bullet. I agree with you. We just have to bite the bullet and say that this is how we've decided to conduct the business.
Sure.
And this is what we should.
Yeah, I mean, just to be very, very candid, when you hear the reason for people to say work from home, right, and having being in the industry for 22 years, right, I have heard this enough number of times that somebody is not well in my family, or I have to be at home for this reason, and I know very well that this is an excuse, this is a lie. Right?
Yeah.
I mean, I don't want to go into details and prove it, but I know, right?
Yeah.
So I mean, the company needs to be honest with people, with the employees. The employees also need to be honest with the company. I mean, I mean, tali dono haath se bajti hai na, matlab to, I mean, we have to be mindful of that.
Totally agree.
Yeah.
So Prashant, on that question, while I wanted to share some data, which I will just hold on for a while on how other companies are thinking about this thing, but I specifically wanted to ask you, you three co-founders, how often do you come to the office and what are your point of views?
Yeah, so so among three, Nilesh, my co-founder, he's mostly in US.
Okay, sure.
Okay. We are still setting up a physical office in US.
Okay.
So he's mostly operating out of hotel or visiting other people.
Sure.
I commute almost daily basis. My commute is time is reasonably high, but I do almost daily. I try to squeeze at one day in few weeks. For the reason that sometimes you have to do deep work.
Yeah.
You need 4 or 5 hours for yourself to think about problem, right, and work on it.
Yeah.
Usually you do not get the time in office setup, right?
Yeah.
Because it's I think fully busy, and I mean a lot of time is probably uncontrollable where you have to respond to situations on day-to-day basis, right? So I try to squeeze a day in 2 weeks where I'm working from home and spending my time on deep work.
Okay.
So Sudhakar, who heads the product engineering, he also tries to do the same. Earlier, what he used to do, he used to take a leave. He used to take leave and used to work in that leave,
okay,
so that nobody disturbs him.
Right?
But now he can at least say that I'm working from home. So, yeah, but we prefer to work from office.
You prefer to? No, similar do I, and obviously it gives me an opportunity to meet different teams who come on different days, to kind of meet with them and do discussions. And obviously, I think I have an added advantage that my home is very close by, so I can almost walk to my home. So that's my added advantage. But one question I just wanted to also extend on this is, so you head the customer success, right? Yeah. Sudhakar, you said heads the tech. Now, obviously, those are different teams. So do your teams also think of being in the office and being from home differently, or is there a difference between the two teams?
No, I mean, so in tech, people can probably be productive remotely as well, right? Okay.
Sure.
But in customer facing functions, right?
Sure.
Because if you have to work to delight a customer,
yeah,
you have to interact with a lot of departments and the customer as well. So that will require more office presence.
Got it.
Than somebody who's just doing some coding, on not really interacting, right? So in that sense, their applicability of work from office may be more for certain functions, right? But we see advantage of different teams being in the same office or on the same floor, because then you cut the barrier, right? You cut all the bureaucracy. If I am having an issue and I need the support from the product team, tech team, I can just walk in, right? Otherwise, if you are at home, you have to find somebody and schedule a meeting, and meeting will consume half an hour. Time goes in discovery, right? I mean, you can be so much productive on the floor. In fact, I mean, working from office is one thing. If everybody's on the same floor, then you have different level of cooperation. So
no, I think just to kind of share my experience, my co-founder Akash, who heads the tech, the way he also does is very similar. That the tech in the agile has a grooming week and development week. When they need to do focused work, they're perfectly fine to be working from home, and when they need to groom along with the product managers, they are in the office. And I had sales and CS. Obviously, sales guys are on the road if not, and the CS guys are more in the office trying to make sure that they delight the customer. One of the things which I kind of met at the Google office in Mountain View when they were planning, this is a few months back, when they were planning to return to office. I think, and obviously the CEO has publicly declared also that they feel that their growth, productivity, and innovation happens because not only the same team, but various teams talk to each other. So not only just while you are having official meetings, but even during hallway conversations, etc.
Absolutely.
Not just formally when you and I sit, but even when we chit chat in the cafeteria or in other places. So I think a lot of the CEOs at Microsoft, Google, Apple, we just saw the announcement day before yesterday, have decided that we want various people to touch base with each other, kind of just informally even have coffee, right? So that's I think is
True,
a
true,
firm
true. I mean,
belief for
yeah, absolutely. And see, like for people like say you and me, right? How do we learn? I mean, we do not have time or schedule to attend course or classroom, right? We learn by talking. We learn from each other, right?
Yeah.
I mean, today I met you, so I'm learning few things from you, right? And same thing happens in office also, right? When I talk to, in fact, I mean, we the founders learn a lot from next level just talking, right?
Yeah.
But understanding the context of a customer, understanding the context of a problem, right? So this is possible only in a physical setup.
Yeah.
It is not possible. You cannot have those kind of conversations on Teams or Zoom.
Yeah,
right?
I totally agree. Yeah, those are very formal conversations,
Yeah.
and there is a lot of turnaround time which gets lost. So with that, Prashant, I just wanted to share some of the stats from our MoveInSync product, which I briefly touched upon the start. The product MoveInSync basically enables organizations which obviously have a lot of employees they have, and they've decided on a flexi work 2 days, 3 days. It helps plan different teams at which day they're going to be in the office. Exactly like what you said. If you are a tech team, you want your 10 guys. If you're coming on Tuesday, everybody comes on a Tuesday and on a Thursday, so that there is an overlap. So it helps the plan part of it, and then it helps those teams and the employees to figure out where they want to sit. So you can book your desks, because desks might not be fixed because you're going to be 2 days in the office. You can also book your meeting rooms, parking. So it's basically a digital footprint of your office. So from that platform, I wanted to share some data. It's been used by 80 companies across the globe, around 18 countries. While a lot of them are representative of the India data set, but obviously it has some countries in Europe and US as well. So most of these companies, as of the data of May, June, and July, these last 3 months data, employees are working 2 days in a week from the office. Okay. So 2 days in a week, employees are working from the office. So that's almost like all hybrid form of work is going on. Now, obviously, in that we have seen some of the companies it is going as high as 3 to 3.5, and for some of the companies which I just said have just started the return to office. Maybe some of these tech firms or even companies like IT services companies, it's more closer to 1. But necessarily, all of them are getting employees from 1 days to 4 days, with the average being 2. And in that, the preferred days, if I have to tell you, the preferred days at which the employees work from the office, obviously it's not a big surprise. Fridays are the most hated days. Fridays, nobody across the globe wants to work. Europe, nobody works. So in Europe, almost nobody shows up. It's almost decided that Friday nobody shows up at the office. And in India, very less people show up, but they do show up. The second least preferred day is Monday. So Mondays and Fridays, I think people mentally think of it as either weekend has not finished or weekend has started. So I think we can obviously look at the psyche of people and do different cuts on that. Having said that, Wednesday, Thursday, and Tuesday in that order are the most preferred days. So by default, employees are comfortable, if left to themselves, to be in the office on Wednesday, Thursdays, and Tuesdays. The one more interesting data point I wanted to share with you and the audience was what you just said. If we looked at the average working hours for startups, for employees in the office in startups, is higher by around 15% as compared to enterprises. Now, obviously, I think one of the things which I attribute is because our processes are not that strong, right? So being whatever, we kind of do a lot of things informally, discussing, etc. And it could just be that, I think there's more pressure, or it could be whatever. But
absolutely, yeah. So I mean, I totally relate to it. I think the point on Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday.
Have you seen that?
Yeah. So in our office, I've seen Tuesdays and Thursdays are the floors are full.
Floors are full.
Right now, I mean, we don't have enough space for everybody, so we have taken a new space. But if I do not get a place in the office, if I come late, right? So that kind of situation is there.
So maybe we should talk to you separately about this.
Yeah. So and startups, that's also understandable that people have slightly more working hours. Startups, by I think definition, they are supposed to be high growth companies, right? And like you said, I mean, things are not well defined, right? And so there will be, of course, things people have to do more so that the company can grow faster, right? If you are a company which is growing by say 5-10% per annum, things will be kind of settled, right?
Yeah,
It will be easy. But if you have to grow 2x, 3x every year, then everybody needs to step up, right? So, and I think that's what people enjoy. I mean, I'm assuming that people enjoy startups because of that, right? Because there is this hustle, around things, and by by working more, by contributing more, right? You feel, I think, you learn and you feel proud about it.
No, absolutely. I think that's if you interview, I think I'm sure we've seen the same, that people want to join startups and at different stages because they feel that they can hustle, they can make immediate impact right away there itself, right? So I think, in fact, I also wanted to share one more data point which we kind of came across from Professor Nicholas Bloom. He is a professor at the Stanford University, who's been doing a lot of research pre-pandemic on remote work, and now he does a research on hybrid work. So that's been his area of expertise. So one of his research shows that 54% of the employees globally want their organizations to provide some form of hybrid work or flexi work. And if not provided, they might actually decide to leave that organization. So I think what you said initially, and frankly, I think if you look at the data, and especially because there's more data available for US, is that even before pandemic, people on average were working only 4 days. It was just that maybe it was not in the HR manuals of the company, but people would work only 4 days from the office. And even in India, I remember prior to starting the company, I was working for Motorola.
Yeah, I'll just interrupt there. If you analyze, the leave data of employees, right? Say pre-pandemic, most of the leaves will be on Monday or Friday.
Okay, yeah.
So, I mean, I'm sure you can relate to that, right? So, what do you say?
No, absolutely. So I think, obviously, see, frankly, I think when we analyze is that one of the reasons people need a little bit of a flexibility, especially different segments, right? Like women sometimes need it, or parents need it, etc. So I think they can kind of balance their
absolutely understandable.
Yeah, so absolutely understandable on that. So I think I'm sort of anything else? Otherwise, I wanted to share for the benefit, because a lot of people are from the HR fraternity, and you've been running a large successful company. One of the things which I wanted you to share is that in your, again, the present organization and in the previous organization, is there a secret sauce which you want to share on building successful organizations?
Yeah, I think, there's nothing secret. I mean, it's well known, but I'll just reiterate what we have learned and what has worked for us. I think first and foremost is something that we discussed initially: perseverance, right? I mean, I'm a big believer of that. So just surviving. I mean, say for 10-15 years in building a company, that itself will take you to a significant milestone.
Also, why don't you share that what keeps you going? I see a lot of people saying 2 years is what I want to give it to myself, 3 years is what I give it to myself.
I think if you are an entrepreneur, if you decide to, an audience, people want to aspire to become entrepreneur, I mean, you have to commit 10 years, minimum.
10 years minimum,
and maybe 15, right?
15 years.
Yeah, 10-15 years, prime years of your life.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, that's. I mean, if you're lucky, you can probably be successful in 2-3 years, but most of the people are not that lucky, right? So you have to grind for 10-15 years in order to create a sizable outcome, sizable company, right? So that is the time it requires, and you have to persist, in that, right? There'll be high and lows, ups and downs, and there'll be times when you think that the business is not going anywhere, and am I going to survive? But you have to keep going, right? Keep going. I think during pandemic, when it started, a lot of companies thought whether they are going to sail through or not, right? I mean, but people who are in the right business model, right? I mean, everybody survived.
Was pandemic harsh on you?
No, actually, it was actually beneficial for us.
It was beneficial for you,
because a lot of people who were not adopting technology for sales automation, they started adopting it. So it was good for us. So perseverance. I mean, that's top. And the second is basically see, the founders of the company are the custodian of culture, right? I mean, it's very hard to define culture as put a phrase around the definition of culture, but it starts from founders, right? And I think the biggest element in that is authenticity, right? I mean, you have to be authentic. You are what you are, right? I mean, there should not be any artificial, glamour around being a founder, or artificial glamour around having certain title or role, right? You have to be authentic. You have to be genuine, right, with your customers, with your employees, with your colleagues, with your investors, right? You have to be, authentic all the time, and then people will relate to you, right? So if people start thinking that no, there's somebody else and I cannot talk to this person, then that's not right for the culture of the company. The third would be execution. Execution. See, ideas, and so like you said, CRM is a crowded space, right?
Yeah.
It is crowded space, right? I mean, when we started, there was Salesforce, Zoho, HubSpot, everybody's there, right? Now, if somebody's starting now, they will think there is LeadSquared also. How do I compete? But I mean, if you are creating a niche for yourself within a crowded market and execute it well, you will still win. It's a large market. It's a very large market, right? When there is an $80 billion market, right? And I know that there is $5-10 billion which is unserved by anybody, and I can create a sizable company in that. It's a matter of execution. I think we can keep talking about ideas, experiments, pivots, all that, but executing on thing and and doing it well. That's what differentiates one company from another. So these are a few things to.
Any incidents comes to your mind which you want to share something?
Like high or low?
Yeah. Anything at lows which because perseverance is probably, I feel, one of the difficult things, and people either financially give it up, or family pressure, or different stage in life.
Yeah. So fortunately, we were founders in previous companies, so I think financially we were not doing bad, right? So that pressure was not there, fortunately. But when you know that you have a solid business, you're growing every year, right? And you go out to raise funds, right? And everybody says this story is great, but double this or do this, right? And then we'll invest in you. And then you see that this company is also getting money. Right?
Yeah, no,
so
daily we as founders read economic times and this.
Yeah. So, and you know that company is probably not investable. You think that, right? That business is not great, right? But they are receiving the attention, they are receiving the money. But while your business is growing and you're not getting that, then you feel a little sad about it. So it frustrates you. Right?
Sure.
But we kept our heads down, and we basically believe that you keep executing.
Sure.
You keep executing. At some point of time, you'll be large enough so that people can ignore you.
Right? No, absolutely, and I echo it. Obviously, it would have been a long 8 years, right? When you would think that, yes, what am I not doing? And I think I would echo as a founder, these thoughts, whatever you tell yourself, do pass your mind. So it certainly gets difficult. I will, let's see if there is. Okay, there's one question. I do had one thing, but maybe let's address this from the audience first. First, you can answer, and then if I have any inputs. Have you faced any challenges in adopting a hybrid work model? And if yes, how did you address? I think one thing which you mentioned earlier is that some employees said that they will not be comfortable in coming back, etc. You kind of explained to them. So that was one, that you decided that this is what you're going to execute as a company, and you executed that. So that was probably one challenge, more related to attrition, etc.
Yeah, I think the challenge, something which is relevant to what you offer, right? I mean, basically, if you have limited capacity and more people, right? How do you address that so that everybody gets a chance, meaningful chance to come in a rotating model, right? Typically people will prefer Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday, right? How do you motivate people to be there in office on Monday or Friday as well, right? Yeah. So I think those are operational challenges, and few things can be solved by using an offering of, say, WorkInSync, and few things can be solved by, for example, we try to keep for Fridays interesting, right? So
Fridays
interesting. I mean,
okay.
basically, they are groups people.
Yeah.
I mean, I think unlike West in India, some people prefer to come to office on Friday because there could be an evening outing, right, in the team. So we have budget for employee welfare, right, which goes out in outings and
okay.
So those.
And is that budget related to Friday?
No. I mean, it can utilize it, but mostly on Friday.
Yeah, makes sense. Makes sense. So you basically you're saying so I think the first point is very important. Like if you are a company of 1,500 employees and you choose alternate day, and if you feel everybody is going to come on Wednesday and you're going to make a building which has 1,500 seats, it's going to be just super wastage of space because only for one day you are building. So you have to convert your company like a WeWork where employees can come, go, etc. Which is what I think we've also seen. Some of our companies, our clients' resources are getting maxed out on a Wednesday and Thursday. Everything is booked, parkings are full, seats are full, meeting rooms are full. So I think you are right. Everybody gets a fair chance by the use of technology. The second one on Fridays is also interesting, and I think during COVID also we used to have some light parties in the evening so that people just feel nice about the start of the day. But I think so that's what Prashant's view is, that one is use of technology to make sure that all the resources are optimally utilized and all the employees get a fair chance to be in on it. And I think one of the things I remember from my MBA days, we used to have credits. So if you utilize Friday, which is a high credit day, you eventually will have to utilize a Monday and a Friday, which is a low credit day. Right? So everybody gets 100 credits and you can split them between Wednesdays and Thursdays and Fridays and Mondays to make sure that everybody gets a fair shot at all the resources to be shared. There's one more question from Haraprasad. If given choice, many employees opt for leave on Mondays and Fridays. How do we address this? So you were sharing data on a pre-pandemic. Haraprasad is saying that what if even in a normal place, like people opt for leave? So any thoughts, Prashant?
Sorry, repeat that.
If given choice, many employees opt for leave on Mondays and Fridays. How do we address this? In the following line, to work on a hybrid model. So I think his question is that again, people will just, if given a choice, people will just come on those 2 and 3 days.
So I mean, I think we got to make it interesting, right? I mean, interesting would be if there is a special meal offered on a certain day, like Monday or Friday, or there is an outing that happens. Something interesting event interesting goodie which is available, say, on those days. I think that's the way to make it. I mean, if you make it mandatory, people will, of course.
People won't show up. Prashant, I think what I shared earlier, obviously about getting a fair chance. One of our clients, what they want to do is that in a month you can only come on 2 Wednesdays, right? So you can book yourself on 2 Wednesdays because that's when their resources get peaked. So basically, it's just a question of fairness.
Correct.
So I think, but making it attractive for employees to show up on their own is obviously the right first step. But eventually, still, if your resources are getting peaked or maxed out,
then you got to rotate them.
You need to put some restrictions by the use of rostering or scheduling technology. Obviously, one of them is MoveInSync, to make sure that maybe out of 4 Wednesdays, you can only schedule yourself on 2 Wednesdays.
Yeah, it is like solving the problems in night shift. When you have a 24/7 support setup, right? I mean, you do rotation, right? So everybody gets all the shift. Similarly, everybody gets to work on all the days, right? And make it more interesting by offering something, right, on those days.
Frankly, I think just as a side note, when we first called the employees back at work, I think our biggest attraction was we have a cafeteria at the office, obviously, you tried that. We used to have very nice dishes, and a lot of bachelors were fed up ordering from Swiggy, Zomato, or trying to cook on their own when they had work to do. So food, to me, good food, there's no alternative like good food in life. David Livingstone has a question. Have you faced any issue with trust in a hybrid model? If yes, how did you overcome it? And how was the productivity during work from home /hybrid? Did you have issue of trust in a hybrid model? I assume that David is probably mentioning trust is when people are in the hybrid model work, the days they are working from home. So that's what.
Yeah. So with some people, yes, we did have. I mean, we could not believe, you know, what they were claiming to do, right? So we noticed drop in productivity, of some people. We noticed some people are unusually, off on certain days, right? And we dealt with those individual cases, but largely it was, fine. I mean, I think largely it was okay, but there were few cases where people were probably doing a side job along with, working.
Yeah, we've heard that a lot.
Right?
Yeah.
Right. And some people who were not working at all, right? I mean, either they were unavailable for some reason or other, right? And since they are not in the same city, you don't have any way to, find out what their claiming is correct or not.
Yeah.
Right. So, see, ultimately, it is about how professional an individual is. A professional person, in my definition, is somebody who can work without supervision.
Yeah.
Right? And that comes out, I think, very clearly in a remote work kind of model, right? I mean, so people who probably would not be putting 100% of their effort when they're not supervised, they need to operate in hybrid model at least.
Yeah. One of the things, Prashant, no, those are very, very good inputs that you kept a trend on it and saw. And I think, frankly, you have to deal with it, right?
Yeah.
You're in the business, right? So
absolutely,
it's not a social service.
It's not charity and business. I mean, I'm responsible for outcome for my customers,
yes,
right?
Yes.
I mean, so
Yeah.
I mean, people are there to help me in delivering that outcome, right? So
yeah. Two things which we did, David, was one of them was if we specially hired somebody for whom this was the first job, we necessarily said that whenever we hired them, you have to be in the office. We will get you attuned to how we work, etc. And maybe tell, while we have optionality of working from home, but tell them to be here 5 days because this is your first job. Maybe that's one. The second, I think we really wanted people, the days they work at home, is to be very explicit with communication. You're working from home, nobody knows what you're doing. You're given a task, you are working on it. Maybe it will get done, maybe it will not. Maybe it's not a very defined. And unfortunately, and I'm just speaking on behalf of everyone, we Indians are not superb at communication, right? So that's not our forte, that's not our skill. So I think communicating to make sure whatever channel, it's Slack or it's WhatsApp, it's an email, making sure that the person, whatever he or she is doing, keeps communicating on the days they are working from home. And if they are new to this entire culture of working or corporate and this is the first job, make sure that the onboarding, including the getting into the culture of the company, sort of, those were the two things, Prashant, which helped us. Do you think that hybrid model will become the long and long term?
I think so.
You think so?
Yeah.
During the pandemic, because, and the reason this person is asking the question is, Vaidesh, is during pandemic, there was a lot of hype about remote work as well, which didn't become a norm. So do you think that this is just a hype curve?
Yeah, it goes back again to the Madhyama philosophy I was talking about, right? I think what pandemic has taught us is that remote work is possible, right? So it's a learning from pandemic that you can people can be productive while being remote, right? But if you apply the middle path of both the worlds, fully remote and fully at office, then hybrid.
So it's the Madhyama.
I think it's going to work, and I mean fundamentally people like me have changed. So pre-pandemic, when somebody used to ask work from home from me, and I used to typically say that you can apply for a leave. Right? So, yeah. But I've changed. My philosophy has changed, right? So when so and I believe that it's possible to be productive at home. So I think hybrid is
the way to go, and it is the Madhyama. So I think Vaidesh, the answer is that maybe remote has taught us that hybrid is possible. Yeah, I think and a good thought around it, Prashant. Maybe we'll be there for a few more minutes. I just have one last question for Prashant, which is actually I know a lot of HRs and the founder community struggles with it. So especially now that you've so successfully grown it to 1,500 people, Prashant. My question to you is that as a co-founder, how do you look at talent attraction, attracting the talent, and then retaining the talent?
Yeah, I think attracting talent in competitive market, I mean, that's a significant challenge for all growing organizations.
Including unicorns.
Including unicorns, including Googles of the world.
Including Googles of the world, totally agree.
Yeah. So while say comp is one item I won't touch about, I think
sure
you got to pay whatever is market. So that is, I think that is given. Beyond comp, I think there has to be something for an individual who is joining the company, right? And our pitch has been different in different stages of the company, right? So when we were a little smaller company, the pitch used to be that you can see, you'll get to see the journey from 0 to 1.
Yeah.
Right? Then 1 to 10, right? Now the way we pitch is that, if you want to see a company which is growth stage and becoming, say, an IPO ready company in say a few years, so that's the journey you will see, and probably you will not be able to see that journey in several other companies, right? So if you want to be part of the journey where you take the company from say X to Y, and Y is basically an IPO ready company, then you join us, right? The learning will be, you'll see how companies mature, right? How you, from a startup which probably has a lot of hustle, right?
Yeah.
You will see a mature environment, growing into that part of the company. So one theme is joining because of the stage of the company.
Right? Joining because of the stage and the learning,
and the
learning, right?
Right. Ultimately, see, apart from money, people join for what impact it will have on their career.
On their career, the smart people exactly will do that. Yeah.
So so we also try to, I think, employees word of mouth is a fairly good source of, because when somebody gets an offer, they will probably have some connect to somebody in LeadSquared, right?
Yeah, given that you're 1,500.
Yeah, they will of course do a ref check with and if you have people who are satisfied with their work, right, they will pass good reference. So keeping, I think, being taking care of the well-being of existing people, that has a lot of influence on attracting talent, right? Because if your house is not, your home is not happy, and you cannot really expect them to give good feedback to a guest, right? What we also do, an interesting thing is that when we every 6 weeks we conduct an event in Bangalore, now Bangalore, right now in Bangalore only, where we invite everybody who is in the joining pipeline or who has joined within last 2 weeks, right? So that's we call it dine and discover kind of event, which is an informal event, a 2-3 hours kind of event, where we talk about LeadSquared, where we have existing people who have joined recently or who joined, say, a few years back.
And you're saying even the ones who are about to join, who have not joined yet?
Yeah. So it's meant for them only, primarily, basically. So it's a candidate engagement event.
Okay.
So because in interview process, people hardly get to interact informally, right?
Yeah.
It's a very formal process.
Yeah.
In interview, you speak to 3 people, right? The way those people behave, you make a view about the company based on that, right? I am not, so we still don't have a defined interview guideline, right? I mean, we have some, but we are not like the interview mein aapko ye karna hai, right? So people, the way a hiring manager is behaving, based on that, a prospective employee is making view about the culture of the company, right? There may be some misconceptions, right?
Yeah.
I want to address them, right? I also want to give an opportunity to people to have informal discussion with me as well as other key people in the company.
Sure.
Right? So typically it's a gathering where there'll be 30-40 odd people from LeadSquared, right? And there'll be 30-40 people who are in joining pipeline or who have joined like 2 weeks back, right? And that event has increased the joining ratio substantially for us.
Very nice. Right? I'm very happy you shared this with all of us. It sounds very, very interesting, engaging, and sounds like a right thing, because I agree, interviews are not the best way for either party actually to judge each other.
Yeah. And some people are on the offense.
Yeah.
I mean, and if their concerns or questions are addressed, then the likelihood of their joining, becomes much, much higher, right? So I think we have to go beyond that formal interview process because I mean, there are plenty of options for it, right? I mean, why should somebody choose LeadSquared, right? I mean, if they can make a connection with me or anybody else in the company and feel comfortable with that, then the probability of joining becomes better, right? So yeah, and retaining talent, I think that's first of all, I think the management, the founding team, they have to be genuinely interested in well-being of people, right? बोलने से काम नहीं चलता, right? I mean, it's not just for the sake of saying, right? That
you said authentic, and I think
so
I
you got to be authentic, right?
You got to be.
I mean, and the real test of that, when some issue or challenge comes around say a particular employee, how do you handle it, right? Whether you show empathy at that point of time or not, right? Whether you just say that this is the policy, this is the rule, and you have to abide by that, or you go beyond the established policy framework, right, in order to help them, right? So of course, as growing companies, so we have built sizable HR team, which have HR business partners for departments, right? We do surveys and act on the surveys. So all that we do, but at the end of the day, I think if people do not feel that the top management team is genuinely interested in their well-being, they will not stay back.
No, this is. I think these are very good inputs. You mentioned earlier as well, being authentic. I think they expect, right, the top guy, and especially I've seen Prashant being authentic, especially when things are tough.
Yeah.
Like for us, it was during pandemic when things are tough. So those are some good inputs. I think with that, I would come to the closure of our discussion, Prashant. For the audience, Swati just now has posted the email on which, if you're interested to know more about hybrid work, what is going on, and especially about MoveInSync and how does the product help to make sure that you can implement a hybrid workplace at your organizations, which many of the organizations like Mindtree, one of the competitors, Freshworks, McAfee, and ANZ, Society General, Airtel, etc., have implemented. Do reach out to this email ID. We shall also shortly follow up with a note along with the recording, and you can write us to that. So it was great, Prashant, talking to you, learning about you, about LeadSquared, about the principles, perseverance, keep at it, being authentic, and especially about your thought about the new work order of hybrid work and how you plan to implement. I wish you all the best for your IPO journey now. All the best. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you, everybody. You have a good day and take care. Bye-bye. I'll end it.